Eli Brennan was born in 2002 in a rusted trailer on the southern edge of West Memphis, Arkansas. His father had vanished before his second birthday, left chasing ghosts and cheap whiskey. As his mother, Deborah, often said, the only man in Eli's life was the pastor of the small Baptist church who'd let him borrow books from the church library and once gave him a used calculator as a Christmas gift. Deborah Brennan worked double shifts at the Hilltop Diner, pouring coffee for truckers in the morning and scraping plates until midnight. She smelled like bacon grease and hairspray, always wore the same blue apron, and somehow managed to laugh through it all. She had only one rule for Eli. You can be poor, baby. You can be tired. But you don't get to be cruel. Not in this family. Eli took that to heart. He was a quiet kid with sharp eyes and a quicker mind. At 12, he was tutoring classmates in algebra. At 15, he built a website to help kids apply for scholarships. And at 17, he scored a 1590 on the SAT, something no one in their school district had ever done before. The local newspaper ran a photo of him, holding a plaque and wearing a borrowed blazer. The caption read, "From trailer to top tier, West Memphis teen heads to Stanford." His mother cried when the letter arrived, not because it meant he was leaving, but because it meant he might not come back broken. Before he boarded the Greyhound bus to California, Deborah handed him a leather-bound journal. It was old, secondhand, and smelled faintly of cinnamon gum. "Write down one good thing you do every day," she told him. "Just one. Could be helping someone. Could be telling the truth. Just don't let the world make you forget who you are." Eli nodded. He hugged her like he was 12 again. Then he left. Stanford was beautiful, manicured, and to Eli, utterly alien. The first thing he noticed wasn't the sunshine or the palm trees. It was the way the kids looked at him when he spoke, that slow, subtle flinch at his southern drawl. The way their eyes scanned his worn jeans, his no-name backpack, his thrift store sneakers. They weren't cruel, exactly. Just polished, distant, raised on different soil. His roommates talked about European vacations and startup internships. Eli talked about raising chickens and fixing lawnmowers for cash. At first, he tried to keep up. He changed the way he spoke, bought overpriced coffee to fit in, deleted Facebook so no one could see where he came from. And slowly, the journal his mother gave him stayed closed. By sophomore year, the mask was heavy. One night, during a dorm poker game, someone pulled up a crypto betting app. "Low stakes," they said. "You're smart, Brennan. Bet the spread. Watch it flip." Eli laughed, bet $20, and won $80 in 15 minutes. The rush was electric. Clean. Mathematical. Controlled. He felt powerful, not just smart, but in control. The first losses came quietly. He rationalized them. Variance, he muttered. Probability. Then the debts came louder. He maxed out a credit card his mom didn't know he had. Took a loan from a shady peer-to-peer crypto lender. Lost more. Borrowed again. Sank deeper. By winter break, Eli owed over $46,000. He stopped going to class, moved out of his dorm, and into a rented room above a liquor store. He worked night shifts packing boxes for Amazon, surviving on ramen and denial. He tried selling old textbooks, tried begging the betting app support team for a grace period, tried praying. Nothing helped. Then came the message. It was buried in a Discord server he used to discuss crypto trends. The user had no name, just an American flag and a flame emoji. Looking for remote talent. High pay. Fluent English. Must be discreet. Message for vetting. Eli clicked. "Do you know how to write persuasive messages?" "Yes." "Are you willing to impersonate others for sales purposes?" "Depends. We operate outside the U.S. Laws don't apply here. 100% remote. You'll be anonymous. You'll be safe. $2,500 per week minimum if you perform. More if you convert." The word convert stuck in his throat, but his fingers typed. "I'm in." Within hours, he was added to an encrypted chat, given an alias, a test script, a training guide, then a flight itinerary to a place called Blackwater in the desert outlands beyond El Paso. A marketing firm run by people who didn't like questions. Eli packed a bag, left no note, took one last look at the journal on his nightstand, still blank, and shut the door. He told himself, He wasn't running. He was surviving. The Blackwater compound didn't appear on Google Maps. Its coordinates were shared via an encrypted messaging app, along with 2 rules. Don't speak unless spoken to. Don't ever try to leave. It sat behind a private stretch of desert road between El Paso and Ciudad Juarez, surrounded by fences topped with barbed wire and cameras that never blinked. From the outside, it looked like a tech startup with low ambitions, a beige box of a building, humming with power generators and bad decisions. But inside, it was something else entirely. Eli's first impression was how clean everything was. White walls, polished concrete floors, a faint smell of citrus and metal. The kind of cleanliness that didn't feel fresh, just sterilized. He was greeted by a man in a navy suit named Ronan, a former marketing executive from Chicago with dead eyes and a smile that never reached his voice. "You're not in trouble anymore, Eli," Ronan said. "You're valuable here. You understand data, persuasion, emotional leverage. That's what we sell. The job? Simple. Or so they claimed. Each operator, Eli was now Operator 213, would be assigned multiple identities. All female, all American, all tailored to emotionally manipulate lonely men in the U.S. into investing in fake crypto exchanges, wire scams, and exclusive NFT launches. "You're not stealing," Ronan said. "You're selling a dream. They want to believe you. You just help them believe harder." The compound was divided into zones. Zone A was for beginners, low-pressure chat scripts. Zone B was for rising performers, voice messages, AI-generated selfies, deeper connections. Zone C, where Eli landed after 2 weeks of exceeding targets, was the heart of the operation. It had a leaderboard. Operator 204 had closed $95,000 last month. Operator 178 was famous for getting a New Jersey divorcee to sell his boat. Eli's own name climbed quickly. He was charming. He was sharp. He could tailor his tone, his punctuation, even his timing of replies to build obsession. The more they believed, the more they paid. One client, a lonely pastor in Iowa, sent $42,000 after Olivia said she was buying a farm to rescue abused horses. Eli felt a chill when the payment came through. He turned off the monitor, then vomited in the sink. But he didn't stop, because the compound ran on quotas. Every week, each operator was expected to convert 3 clients with minimum yields of $10,000. If not, you were moved to Zone R, the red zone. No one came back from Zone R smiling. Eli once saw a man being dragged out of a hallway at midnight, crying for his mother in a language Eli didn't recognize. The next morning, his station was cleared. No explanation, just silence. Ronan's voice echoed the next day in a mandatory assembly. "You are not people here. You are instruments. The world is cruel. We've given you a weapon. Use it, or be left behind." By month 3, Eli stopped using his real name, even in his head. He was now Olivia, or Amber, or Julia, depending on the shift. He had 6 phones. For screens. 36 clients. He didn't sleep more than 4 hours a night. He didn't write in the journal. He didn't look in mirrors. The turning point came in week 14. One of his targets, a retired Marine from Kentucky named Samuel Briggs, sent in his life savings. Over $68,000, wired into the dummy exchange over 3 weeks. Eli knew the man's story by heart. Widower, no kids, PTSD, looking for meaning. They'd shared songs, poems, prayer requests. Eli, as Julia, had promised to visit him next fall. Then, after the final payment, Samuel sent one last message. "I know you're not real. I think I knew for a while. But thank you for pretending to care. That alone was worth the money. God bless you." Eli stared at the screen for over an hour. Then he turned off every monitor. He went to the bathroom and cried until he couldn't breathe. He tried to quit. Ronan called it emotional burnout and sent him to a reconditioning room, a small white cell with a speaker that played looped affirmations for 8 hours straight. "You are not guilty. You are just a mirror. The world exploits or is exploited. You choose survival." But Eli had already made his choice. He began planning his escape. The chance came unexpectedly. A janitor, Carlos, an older Mexican man with a cleft lip and soft eyes, caught him staring too long at the emergency exit. Instead of reporting him, Carlos whispered, "I've helped others. If you're ready tomorrow night. But once we start, no going back." Eli nodded. For the first time in months, he felt his hands tremble with something other than shame. It was hope. He packed what little he had: the journal, a burner phone, 2 granola bars. And at 2:14 a.m., he slipped into a supply crate marked produce. Carlos sealed it shut. Eli rode 400 miles in that crate, sweating, praying, nearly suffocating. But he made it. He emerged near an abandoned gas station outside El Paso, Texas, sunburned, dehydrated, shaking. He looked around at the American desert stretching wide before him, and whispered, hoarsely, "Mama, I'm coming home." It was late afternoon when Eli Brennan stepped off a Greyhound bus in West Memphis, Arkansas. The sky was painted in tired pinks and oranges. Dust clung to his jeans, and his hands were still calloused from weeks of gripping crates and hiding behind lies. He hadn't called ahead, didn't have the courage. He just walked, past the gas station that used to sell him bubblegum as a kid, past the middle school where he'd won a science fair with a homemade wind turbine, past the corner where his mother once sold pies during the holidays to make rent. And then, the trailer. Same peeling paint, same sagging porch, same creaking steps. He stood there for 5 full minutes, hand hovering near the door. Inside, he could hear the muffled sound of a radio, something soft and old. Probably Patsy Cline. His mother always said Patsy sounded like regret, made music. Eli finally knocked. The door opened. Deborah Brennan looked older than he remembered, thinner. Her hair was fully gray now, but her eyes, tired as they were, still held that steel that raised a boy on minimum wage and maximum love. She stared. He stared. Neither spoke. Then she reached out and slapped him. Not hard, not to hurt, just enough to say, "Do you know what you've done?" Eli flinched, not from pain, but from knowing he deserved far worse. But then she did something else. She pulled him in, held him like she had when he was 5 and afraid of thunderstorms. "You're home," she whispered. "Thank God, you're home." For 3 days, they didn't talk about where he'd been. Deborah let him sleep, fed him, washed his clothes, left a peanut butter sandwich on the kitchen table each morning like when he was a teenager. Then, on the 4th day, the FBI knocked. 2 agents. Polite, but firm. "We've been tracking a series of crypto fraud cases linked to offshore operations. Mr. Brennan, your name has come up in connection with over 30 incidents." Eli didn't run. He didn't lie. He just looked at his mother, sitting on the porch, silent, and nodded. "I'll go." The trial was quiet. His court-appointed lawyer tried to argue coercion, duress, psychological manipulation. But Eli stood, told the court everything. No excuses, no tears. "I was desperate," he said. "But that doesn't make it right. I used people. I destroyed trust. I became someone my mother didn't raise me to be. I don't ask for mercy. I just ask for a chance to become someone else." The judge, a middle-aged black woman with eyes that had seen decades of regret, stared at him for a long time, then said simply, "Redemption doesn't begin in court, Mr. Brennan. It begins where the damage was done. Go fix what you can." He was sentenced to 4 years in a minimum security federal facility, with eligibility for parole in 2. In prison, Eli didn't waste time. He started a program called the Journal Project, where inmates were given blank notebooks, just like the one his mother gave him, and asked to write one good thing they did each day. It caught on. By the end of year 1, over 300 inmates participated. Some wrote about small acts, sharing food, helping translate letters, calling their kids. Others wrote nothing for weeks, then filled pages when something finally clicked. Eli taught coding on Tuesdays, taught ethics on Thursdays, and never once used a fake name again. 2 years later, he was released on parole. His mother was waiting at the gate. She brought the old journal, the original one, still worn, still smelling faintly of cinnamon and thyme. He opened it. Page 1 still said, "Write down one good thing you do every day." And now, finally, Eli turned to a new page. He wrote, "I came back. And this time, I'm not leaving." He now works with a nonprofit in Little Rock, helping victims of online scams rebuild their lives. He tells them the truth, the full story, doesn't sugarcoat it, doesn't ask for pity. He just tries to make things right, one day at a time, one line at a time, in a journal that's no longer empty. This is not a story about a hero. It's a story about a boy who fell far, fell hard, hurt people, but who also, in the deepest pit of shame, found something left inside, something his mother planted long ago, a seed of decency, of truth, of home. And when he watered it with honesty and pain, it grew.